Okay, so this was a member request lesson quite a while ago, finally getting around to it. We're talking about using the left hand on the hi-hat when we're playing grooves and the right hand is on the ride cymbal or the bell. And a lot of these intricate patterns that you hear drummers play in between backbeats, they're on the ride cymbal, and all this kind of maybe triplet vocab. Sometimes it's 16th notes, sometimes it's 32nd notes, sometimes it's little doubles, little cheeky things that happen with the closed and open hi-hat on the left side. And that's something that I missed when I had my hi-hats over here. While all of the positives still apply when I was raving about it and really enjoying it, but I really missed this kind of vocab during songs, these kind of fill ideas, but within grooves, actually for fills when you're doing a fill around the toms, but then involving the left hand. There's just so much vocab with the left hand on the hi-hat that I missed. It's such an expressive part of the kit that when it's away from this side, you're just missing this whole area of vocabulary. So let's get into some of this. You'll hear lots of people like Steve Gadd, Dave Weckl, Dennis Chambers, Carter Beauford in the Dave Matthews Band with his open-handed style, with his ride cymbal over here, and the really intricate and interesting grooves he comes up with. So it's not just for fills, but some really interesting grooves that are part of the song. So you'll hear those guys do it a lot in particular. But let's start with something simple. This is a go-to one for me that you can just throw in. It's not too offensive or too busy. It just adds a little bit of spice. And there are a few different variations, but it's just a group of triplets, right, right, left. And it sounds like this. So that's the outline of the groove, just with some simple bass drums that I've written. I've written, as I often do, the little ghost note after the backbeat. But you can take those things out if this is difficult or you're trying to get through it and add this thing that's new to you, then you can strip the groove down even more and just play 2 and 4 on the snare, 1 and 3 on the kick, or even no kick drums before you start adding things back in. That's absolutely fine. This is just an overall example of the groove that I used to demonstrate this. So the first thing you want to do is keep the hi-hat closed and just play that. I'm also playing offbeats on the hi-hat, which you don't have to do to begin with, but that's something I like to do a lot when I'm on the ride cymbal, is rather than play quarter notes. Of course, it depends on the song and the groove and everything, but I really like offbeats. I think they stick out a little bit more and it gives it a nice flow. So that's what's happening with this. And that's where you can hear that little ghost note after the snare drum, and just before I come up to the hi-hat. So if you take that out, it kind of just disrupts the flow. That's why I love these little ghost note things that happen kind of automatically off a backbeat. Because although the listener doesn't always hear them and couldn't necessarily always point them out, it just adds to the flow. So it's something to keep in mind for the finished product, that those things do add something. So that's the first version. Then we want to open the hi-hat on the final one. And we're going to close it on the next bass drum. So it's a little short open hi-hat. Then the next thing we want to do is same thing, but leave the hi-hat open and close it when we hit the next backbeat. So it has a little bit more sustain. So then sometimes I'm leaving out the eighth notes, like to keep consistent eighth notes, offbeats with the hi-hat. Sometimes, like in that example, it means you've got to close the hi-hat with the snare drum and then hit the hi-hat immediately after. So like, so sometimes that's a little bit awkward, so it doesn't always matter if you miss out the open hi-hat in some places, as long as the general feel, like at the beginning of the bar, it happens. So it's not essential that that's going all the time, because sometimes the open hi-hat disrupts that flow a little bit. Then we can open it both times. And then we can utilize both closing options. We can either close it on the next bass drum, and that's easy because when we close it, that's where the bass drum, the offbeat hi-hat would be happening anyway. Or we can use the long sustain and close it on the next backbeat. And then you have some options now to do different variations with the same idea and the same sticking. And then you can use the bell, and the bell could be like quarter notes, or it could be eighth notes accented. You could play the little triplets both on the bell, the right, right, left. Or you could spread it between the tip of the stick and the shoulder. Versus lots of different options. So now I'll just experiment with all those variations and create some nice options with this sticking.